Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
We're still on our literature unit for the month of June, and our featured story is The Yellow Wallpaper. If you're with us last time, of course, you know that that's a short story by the authoress, or the author, we should probably call her, of our story. What's her name? Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Okay, she wrote this story back in the 1800s. I believe it was published in 1892. And it's all about mental illness. That's where our title here is Mulling Over Mental Illness. But it's also about, husbands' control of their wives and stuff like that. There are some feminist issues in this story as well. So we can all learn a thing or two if we read this story.
I think Charlotte actually wrote this book to kind of write down her feelings about her own life and the situation she went through after she had a baby. We'll talk more about that, but we're going to read through today's lesson first. Charlotte Perkins Gilman was born in Connecticut, U.S. in 1860. Her father, Frederick Beecher Perkins, abandoned his family shortly thereafter. Eventually, her father's relatives stepped in to help raise Gilman and her brother. Her paternal relatives, including Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, were highly active in social reform and women's suffrage. Under their influence, Gilman herself became a fierce advocate for women's rights. Gilman married artist Charles Stetson in 1884 and gave birth to a daughter the following year. After the birth, Gilman succumbed to a severe bout of postpartum depression. During this period, Stetson denied his wife physical and mental activity in accordance with the time's popular rest cure. This further exacerbated her symptoms, so in 1888, Gilman left her husband and later obtained a divorce. This experience became the basis of her famous short story, The Yellow Wallpaper, 1892. Over the next decade, Gilman recovered and became a lecturer on women's issues, labor and social reform, and more. She penned numerous essays, short stories, and poems as well, including her most important nonfiction work, Women and Economics, 1898. She also became romantically involved with her cousin Houghton Gilman, marrying him in 1900. Gilman went on to publish many more works, both fiction and nonfiction. In 1909, she started her own literary magazine, The Forerunner, which ran for 7 years. Gilman continued her work as an activist and writer well into old age. In 1935, a year after her husband's death, she committed suicide, preferring to die by inhaling chloroform than the cancer she was suffering from. Gilman left behind a legacy that is not only still relevant today, but also respected by modern feminists and activists around the globe.
Okay, so today we're talking about the author herself, Charlotte Perkins Gilman, the author of our featured story, The Yellow Wallpaper. So Charlotte Perkins Gilman was born in Connecticut, U.S., in 1860. That was just a few years before the Civil War started in the United States there. Connecticut, of course, is a state in the east. It's real close to New York City there. And so she was born there. Her father, Frederick Beecher Perkins, abandoned his family shortly thereafter. Thereafter just means afterwards. So after she was born, the father, for whatever reason, decided to leave the family. He abandoned his family. He shirked his responsibilities and just left and went somewhere else. Maybe he ran off to fight the war or something. I kind of doubt it. But eventually her father's relatives stepped in to help raise Gilman and her brother. So not right away, I guess the mother had to raise these children by herself for a while, but eventually, after some time, some of the relatives of the father who ran away. Some of the relatives probably had a guilty conscience or something, and they stepped in. Well, we better come and help you. They stepped in, which means they kind of took this responsibility. They arrived, they showed up, and they decided to help raise Gilman and her brother so they could have at least some kind of happy childhood.
Yeah, what a creepy dad. Back then, women couldn't work. So he, in essence, or really he was leaving his little family to starve, which is horrible. Maybe there were church people back then who would donate food, but what an awful man. Anyway, yeah, so if you step in to help, it means you get involved. You see something that's not going well, and you can step in and make it better. A lot of times, siblings, brothers and sisters will be fighting and arguing about something. And maybe your mom or dad has to step in and stop them from fighting, do something. We also use a verb phrase, to step up. If you see that nowadays, to step up just means you actually are courageous enough to get involved and help in some way, to step up. Or you could be mad at maybe someone for not doing their job right and say, hey, you need to step up and take responsibility for this. So you'll see that verb phrase as well these days. So it's good that finally her father's relatives tried to help raise Gilman and her brother. She's got paternal relatives. Paternal means belonging to the dad's side. Maternal would be belonging to the mom's side. So that's what that word paternal means. What did they do?
Okay, well, again, they stepped in to help raise the children, and these paternal relatives included Harriet Beecher Stowe, and she was, of course, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, and they were highly active in social reform and women's suffrage. Okay, so those are some of the relatives here. We don't know exactly if they were helping out raising the kids, but again, these are all relatives from the father's side, including Harriet Beecher Stowe. She wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, and they were active in various causes, including social reform, changing society, and also women's suffrage. And suffrage here is not suffering. Suffrage is different. It basically just talks about the right to vote, and they almost always use this term in talking about voting for women, women's suffrage, women getting the right to vote. At some time in the past, women were not allowed to vote in elections. So she thought, hey, that's not fair. Women should vote as well. So she was campaigning for women's suffrage.
Oh, I just want to make this really clear. Her paternal relatives, her father's relatives, had nothing to do with the husband, right? Only with her own father. So it was her family that stepped in to help. So, yeah, she was really an activist, you could say. There have been a lot of movies recently about, feminist issues or women's rights. There was just a movie recently about women's suffrage. If you're curious about history, you should go see that. Yeah, so under their influence, Gilman herself became a fierce advocate for women's rights. If you're fierce, you're pretty strong. Nothing's going to scare you away. And she was pretty sure that she was going to help change things for women and get them more rights, or at least try to get them equal rights or somewhat equal rights to the men back then. Because, wow, they couldn't really say much. They couldn't vote. It was tough to change the situation without voting rights for sure. It took them quite a while to get those rights, though. Moving on to the next paragraph, it says, Gilman married artist Charles Stetson in 1884 and gave birth to a daughter the following year. So if we do some math, she was 24 when she got married. It's kind of old back then. Girls got married so young. They would marry from anywhere from 15, usually not 14, but 15 to, 21. After you were 21, you were considered kind of getting up there in age. Can you imagine? But she did have a baby. She had a little girl the following year.
Right, okay, and of course, backing up here, of course, we're talking about Gilman herself. She became a fierce advocate for women's rights. Advocate, of course, is somebody who advocates special privileges or special rights, or trying to get rights that you deserve, that you have been denied.
Social issues, particularly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're trying to support a particular political cause or something like that. And remember, an advocate is the person. I'm an advocate for civil rights. And then advocate is the verb. I advocate civil rights. So, of course, that's what happened to Gilman under the influence of those relatives, especially Harriet Beecher Stowe, who I think, Abraham Lincoln said that she's the one who caused the Civil War because of that book. I don't know if that's true or not, but she definitely was influential to get people to oppose slavery at the time. But that's another issue. But back to Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Of course, it says she married the artist Charles Stetson in 1884, had a daughter the next year, and after the birth of her daughter, Gilman succumbed to a severe bout of postpartum depression. Maybe you've heard about this. Sometimes when women give birth, they suffer from depression that happens after they give birth. Postpartum. That means after giving birth. So she had a severe bout or a severe time where she had this depression. It was severe, it was strong, and she was very depressed. She succumbed to it. That means that she had this happen to her, and she couldn't fight it off, so she was suffering from depression after giving birth to her daughter.
Yeah. It can be very serious. At least we're talking about it these days. I know some famous people have come out and talked about how they suffered from postpartum depression. It's serious, and sometimes mothers end up killing themselves and their little baby both.
Can be severe, yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of out of their mind. Severe just means very serious. So it's at an extreme level of whatever you're talking about. It's intense. Severe. Could be mild. That's the opposite of severe, very mild. Bout, like Tom said, it's just a time period. So it's just a short time, but, it doesn't take very much time before people start doing crazy things like killing their kids. I was just reading stories this weekend about a mom who killed her kids, or a grandma who killed 2 twin boys she was raising because her daughter had passed away because she was suffering from depression. It's serious, but postpartum in particular refers to a brand new mom who just had her baby, and your hormones are completely out of whack. They're not stable, and it leads to depression. Now, during this period, Stetson, her artist husband, denied his wife physical and mental activity in accordance with the time's popular rest cure, which we mentioned in day 1. Rest cure just means, they want you to just lie down on your bed, rest. Don't do anything. Don't get involved with any, activities that we're partaking in. Just stay in that room and rest, and that's supposed to heal you. But of course, sometimes it just makes people more crazy. In accordance with just means following the guidelines of what people said rest cures were with. So in accordance with the law, I went and got my driver's license before I tried to drive because I wanted to be obedient. I wanted to follow the law. So in accordance with means you're following whatever conditions or law that you need to do it right, you could say. So rest cure was something that was her husband wanted her to do, which sounds really a lot like the guy in the yellow wallpaper, doesn't it?
Does sound like it's something that really happened, but he probably thought, well, that's what they say we should do. That's what all these psychologists tell us to do. Give them this rest cure, keep them from physical activity and mental activity. They've got to be isolated somewhere in a room. That's what we're supposed to do, so I'm just doing as I'm told here. And that became the basis of her story. But right now, we're going to take a little bit of a break, so please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 今天我们要继续来看这个文学作品 The Yellow Wallpaper 黄色壁纸。好，我们知道这个小说的内容，它其实也是一个女性主义文学的代表作。在谈完这个故事的情节之后，我们这一段要来看的是这个作者。其实 这个小说基本上可以说就是像作者自己的自传一样，当然不完全一样，可是也可以说它是一个半自传的作品。换句话说，作者本身的经历好像就呈现在这个小说作品当中。那我们看一下作者呢，Charlotte Perkins Gilman， 他其实是美国人，那生于1860年。那说到他，其实他呢，他的父亲当时就抛弃了他的家庭，最后是谁照顾他、抚养他们长大呢？其实是父亲的亲戚。好，这里注意到父亲那边的是用这个字 paternal。当然，如果是母亲那一头的呢，我们前面的 P 就变成了 M，maternal 就是母亲那一方的。好，那他父亲这边的亲戚最后抚养他和他的兄弟长大。不过有一点就是，他父亲这边的亲戚其实也有名人，其中呢有一位其实他写了一本的作品叫做《汤姆叔叔的小屋》Uncle Tom's Cabin， 大家也许也知道。好，不过重点就在这个亲戚对于我们这个小说的作者 Charlotte 其实是很有影响的。当时他的亲戚们都积极的参与社会改革，还有争取女性投票权。看到这个字 suffrage 就是女指投票权，所以他们因为是属于这样子社会运动的人士，所以当然 Gilman 我们的这个黄色壁纸的作者呢也受了影响。好，我们来看下面这一段，下面就提到说 Gilman 他后来结婚了，那也生下了一个女儿，不过很遗憾的是他生产后得了产后忧郁症。再来呢，继续说到他结婚，那他得了忧郁症，后来他的先生他就不允许他去参加任何的活动，而当时能接受的疗法就叫做 rest cure， 也就是静养疗法。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're on day 2 of our literature unit. We're discussing the author of The Yellow Wallpaper. Her name is Charlotte Perkins Gilman, of postpartum depression, a period of time that new mothers suffer from being very depressed. And her husband, Charles Stetson, he was an artist. He told her she just needed to rest. He didn't want her to do any physical activities or mental activities. But this was hard on her. She didn't like this at all. But that's what life was like for women back then. Their husbands ruled over them. They really didn't have a lot of freedom.
Right. I'm sure the husbands thought they were doing the right thing, but that was, of course, in accordance with that rest cure of the time. Now, this further exacerbated her symptoms. To exacerbate means to make things worse.
Yeah.
So she had these symptoms, and this rest cure just made them worse. Symptoms, of course, are the things you suffer from when you have a disease, the things that indicate that you have a disease. If you have sniffles and a runny nose and a cough, those are symptoms of a cold. So in 1888, Gilman left her husband and later obtained a divorce. So, yeah, I'm suffering from this depression and you're just making it worse. You're exacerbating my situation. So, sorry, I got to leave you. She left him in 1888 and later got or obtained a divorce. She went to talk to a lawyer and said, I want to get a divorce from my husband.
Very hard to do back then, I'm just going to say.
Right,
I can't believe she got a divorce in 1888.
She must have made a pretty good case there.
Yeah.
The judge granted her a divorce. She obtained a divorce. And this experience became the basis of her famous short story, The Yellow Wallpaper. That's why we're describing this as semi-autobiographical. It's a work of fiction, but it's based on things that happened to her in real life.
Yeah, and a lot of authors will do that. They'll take things that happened in their own lives, experiences they had, and put it into a fictional novel. So, yeah, there's some truth in there, but most of it's fiction or not true. So this experience became the basis or the foundation, you could say, of her famous short story, The Yellow Wallpaper. 1892 that you see in parentheses there refers to the date it was published. So over the next decade or next 10 years, Gilman recovered. She got better. She also became a lecturer on women's issues. So she would give talks, probably to different women's groups, of course, about labor, work, working in factories. Lots of kids and women were also working in factories. If they were very poor, they especially were in factories. Labor and social reform. Social reform refers to your rights as a citizen. So one of the social reforms that were important was to get the kids out of those factories when they were, very young and get them in school. That would be one example of social reform. But she really felt strongly about these things, and she talked about it and gave talks and lectures.
Yep, she penned numerous essays, short stories, and poems as well. You could also say she wrote a lot of essays, many short stories, and poems, including her most important work of nonfiction, Women and Economics. You can probably find that online somewhere for free. It's probably in the public domain now.
Yeah.
She also became romantically involved with her cousin. How did you say this? Houghton?
Houghton.
Okay, Houghton Gilman, marrying him in 1900. That's really weird. I cannot possibly imagine being romantically involved with my cousins.
Maybe it's a second or third cousin.
Possibly.
People
but
got married to their cousins more back then.
It sounds really weird to me.
We don't do it much now.
Yeah, we don't do it currently, at least not that much. Maybe they do it in Kentucky or something like that. I don't know. But in any case, that was, I guess, common and acceptable back at the time, so she got involved with her cousin and married him in 1900. And here in the next paragraph it says, Gilman went on to publish many more works, both fiction and nonfiction. So she wrote fiction and nonfiction. And in 1909, she started her own literary magazine, The Forerunner, which ran for 7 years. You might know there's quite a few literary magazines out there. Granta is one, the Paris Review. I think there's one out of the University of Missouri as well. So she had her own one that ran for 7 years. Maybe you can find copies of it online. It's called The Forerunner. And Gilman continued her work as an activist and writer well into old age. Earlier, we had the word advocate. Activist is similar. Somebody who promotes social causes. She just wanted people to, give people chances, give the right to vote to women, give them better rights in work and in marriages and things like that. She continued well into her old age. She just kept on working.
Yeah, forerunner means someone who is at the forefront or person that's preceding this period of some sort of development. So they're kind of like a pioneer, you could say. Those are similar words. Well, sadly, in 1935, a year after her husband's death, that would be Houghton Gilman, she committed suicide. She killed herself, preferring to die by inhaling chloroform. Chloroform actually makes you unconscious. They would use it back then for surgeries, which is scary, but yeah, chloroform. She just sniffed in chloroform and that killed her because at the time she was suffering from cancer, probably in a lot of pain and just wanted to go. So that's how she met her end, how she died. Gilman left behind a legacy that is not only still relevant today, which means, it still matters. People are looking at it, but also respected. She's also very respected by modern feminists and activists around the globe, people who are working to improve women's rights. I think we've improved them quite a bit. I feel quite equal myself. So a legacy, guys, just means something that you've done over your lifetime that you leave behind. Could be music, it could be writing you've done. Could be just being a great example to your kids. That's a legacy as well. So she is respected by modern feminists and activists around the globe. And those activists include men as well, of course. Right now, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher.
好，接下来呢，我们看到这里就会想到，小说情节不也是如此吗？的确，所以啊，其实这说穿了，真的是像他一个半自传的作品。好咯，我们来看。当然，这里谈到作者自己的部分，他后来呢就离开的先生离婚了，有了第二段的婚姻，而后来他恢复健康，而且还成了一个所谓女性议题的一个讲师，他还写了很多的文章，那其中有一个非小说的作品叫做《妇女与经济》。好，看到这边的标题 Women and Economics。那我们说，我们的作者他后来又有第二段婚姻，他还出版更多的作品。看到了这边说到他作品里面最重要的一个 non-fiction work。好咯， non 本来加一个 non 就是一个否定的字根，所以 fiction 小说虚构的跟 non-fiction 就互为相反。当然这常见的一个字首包括 smoking room, non-smoking room, smoking area, non-smoking area 我们都很熟悉。那最后这边我们再看一下，说到了 Gilman 这位女作家，她还创办了她的文学期刊，这个文学期刊叫做 The Forerunner 先锋。那他其实后来，一直到很老的时候都还写作。这个地方有一个片语 well into old age， 说到他一直不断的工作，直到他年纪很大。那再来就提到了最后他死亡的这一段，其实这也是令人唏嘘不已的，因为他最后是自杀而死。其实这也令人觉得遗憾，不过她是一个女性主义者，她连死都不愿意跟传统一样等死。虽然她得了癌症，可是她却选择用自杀。我们看到这边 committed suicide， 后面又接着 preferring to die by inhaling chloroform than the cancer she was suffering from。 我们注意到 prefer to， 大家应该知道这个片语，选择比较喜欢什么，但是 prefer to A than B， 所以说 prefer to 后面加动词，然后比什么，他喜欢 A 做 A 而不是做 B， 后面的一个字 than， 然后再加原形动词。好，我们今天的讲解就到这边，我们下一次再见。
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you so much for joining us. But hey, you got to join us again next time because we're going to actually talk about the story again, The Yellow Wallpaper, and why we think you should read it. So please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.